So the only thing I would like to do before you jump off Psychic, and if you really, really got to go for it. I just want to kind of have a breakdown, see what you thought. Let's chat through it a little bit because I think that's part of what the
Sure.
playtest is. What'd you
Yep.
like? What didn't you like? About the system. Don't nothing at me. I can't take that kind of criticism. Tonight.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I liked most of it. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
it was.
yeah.
It was.
the only thing that really bogged things down was like lack of knowledge. But
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was just. I think it's set up to be very quick, but just having to reference was just the only thing that slowed us down.
I
One of my
think specifically for this starter adventure, one, obviously the lack of knowledge is definitely not great, but obviously as DM being able to look it up is enough. But also two, the lack of explanations of much needed things. Like
Mm,
there should be something on here that explains a movement based thing. Like, okay, you can move
yes.
from far range to close range, or you can move from here to
yes.
there.
Yes.
Another thing as well is I don't know, obviously none of us are kind of spellcasters. But I was just kind of assuming based off of what it said at the bottom how the spell works. I do feel like there needs to be a video or something that explains more mechanics than just
Mm,
here's the basics, figure it out.
yeah. I
Like,
mean,
love
I
that we have a
agree.
new system. There is not enough information to actively and accurately portray a longer campaign outside of something that's already dictated by the creators.
Sure. I can see that. And again, it is early access. So I mean, maybe that's just
Yeah, of
where we
course.
are.
So things are going to
Yeah.
change, things are going to be added, stuff like that.
But I
But
agree,
I
especially
think
with the character sheets. I feel like because I was trying to reference some of your sheets for some of those answers, and the movement I think needs to be on there somewhere. I
It
think
has to be
that
because
yeah.
I was like
and
because with
explaining
Garrick's
experience.
attack, we were just completely lost onto
Yeah.
how close he is, how like I was saying,
Mm,
this feels like kind of like you have to have a physical board basically in order
Mm.
to
But
move, and there are games like Kubo Quest and all that kind of stuff that you have all different different peoples all the way around the world. How are you
yeah.
going to play without something physical, basically?
Yeah, and I
I
think I was sorry, just let me say this because I think the thing about the agility roll to move, I think that should be on your character sheet, especially since there is
Hmm.
a creature in the starter set that specifically pushes you to far range. Like
Hmm.
they make use of that range, but don't explain without having to look it up how to get back from that range. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ace. What were you going to say?
if I were to do this, and this is strictly from a design standpoint for someone who's been playing games and DMing for about 5 to 10 years, we're gonna put our knowledge cap on. What I would do is I would create two
sign
versions
off.
of the character sheet, one that's specifically for online play and one that's specifically for in-game play.
Yeah,
Mm,
Mhm.
definitely.
Now, keep in mind, this is only early access, so that might be null and void. But I think there should also be easier access to the cards that you have,
okay.
or at least a spot to type it out or write it down. I
I,
just feel like the skills are a little too separated on the sheet.
I have a proposition for you for part two of this. I'm assuming everybody here would be up for part two to finish this
Oh,
out.
absolutely. I
I
enjoyed
guess.
this.
I'll at least finish it, but if I'm completely honest, as of right now, I don't think Daggerheart interests me as a player.
That's fine.
But I definitely do want to finish it, see how it goes, see how it feels. We have a bit more knowledge now, so I feel like part two is definitely going to flow a little bit
Hmm.
easier and stuff like that.
So let me ask you
But
this. What is it about it that doesn't interest you as much as, say, because I know that you're
lack of
enjoying
knowledge,
Dragonbane. So is it
like
that mainly?
lack of knowledge and a lack of in access to knowledge, there's a
Okay.
lot of it that, like, I don't know if it's just undiagnosed go burr or whatever the issue is, but I feel like for someone that is wanting to play a game that is a brand new tabletop game, obviously everything takes time, everything needs to, like, we need to have that moment to kind of get used to our abilities, see what we do,
Sure.
how does this work, how does that work. I feel like if we did want to have an alpha version of something like this, there needs to be almost, I don't know if it's just a personal thing, but like more than an abundance of knowledge for everything. Like,
Sure.
if I want to get into something like this. I want it over explained to a T. Like, if
So let
I can
me
control F and go through 6 documents, I'm happy.
so let me ask you this: what is it about this that's making you feel that way? And I'm not disagreeing. I actually just want this feedback so I can do the feedback, as opposed to like when we started Dragonbane, because that was new too, and that was a little bit different.
The
What is it about
training.
that caught you
So
more than Daggerheart?
Dragonbane almost didn't for me.
Okay.
I had to figure it out. I nearly wanted to quit after session 4. But that was more
Okay.
so personally because I didn't understand how to play the game accurately for me. And that's why you would have noticed when we hit the town that Leroy was a lot more of a role player than he was a physical attacker kind of
Sure.
person. So once I leaned more into that, I was like, okay, I get it now. I understand what this is.
Okay.
But I think for a brand new tabletop game, I understand it's all personal. This is just how I feel on it.
Of course, yeah,
But I
and you're not
think
hurting
for
anybody's
a brand
feelings.
new, yeah, for a brand new alpha, for a brand new system that like plays on the idea of things like we've seen stress before, we've seen like a couple of things. I think for it to be a brand new thing and everything's new, there's a lot of numbers and a lot of words, but a
Mhm.
lack of explanation of what they are. We
Okay,
don't know
that's
what the
fair.
experience is. We did that ourselves. We don't really know. We couldn't really like
Yeah.
pinpoint what the armor did. We had to look at that. Like, I feel like there needs to be more an explanation on the character sheets rather
Okay.
than just relying on the DM to 100%, yeah, we can do this, we can do
Yeah,
that.
and I think that that's a good point because I will say they did release like the actual like full rules thing, but I mean to do that it's like reading the player's handbook. So I mean that
Yeah.
is out there. But to your point, because this is an alpha, because they want people to do this playtest, I do
Yeah.
think more of that. I think the character sheet almost needs another page with some of the like that first page that breaks down all the basics. I think needs more information. I think there needs to be a
Yeah.
second
Absolutely.
Even
page.
just another page to explain the in detail stuff,
Yeah,
like
I think
how
you're
does the
right.
movement work in combat, like even just a second page actually to just explain the things you can do in combat.
That's fair. That's a
Like,
good point.
I think
That's a
that
good
would
point.
make combat move 100% more smoothly.
So
But
here,
yeah, I think for me personally, it's not my cup of tea, but I think it's just because right now it's so early that there is just
sure.
not enough information for me to kind of
Did I finally
figure out
find a
how it is to
system
me.
that Psychic's not gonna wanna play in my game for?
But
Whoa.
but on a good note though, with the like with D&D, it's just like just you make your character and that's it. With this, I like how there's like special abilities for like the rogue and for the tank and for all that kind of stuff. Like I was able to know exactly how I actually kind of like when I make a when I was kind of iffy about this a little bit because I didn't make Barnacle and
Sure.
I like to get into and for me personally I like to make characters to get inside their heads. I was able to get into Barnacle's head almost immediately because of how the special abilities of the rogue
Mm,
like disappearing. This creature does not want to attack head on. Does not want to at all.
yeah.
So I actually kind of like that a lot type thing. So
Oh yeah,
because that
customization is
this
always going to be stellar.
is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was so fun to just kind of like be the distraction and not and only just like do like small hits here and there rather than and let the more heavy hitters take on the more frontal approach
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, honestly, I
with
was
normal
going.
with like D&D the rogue and the wizard and the sorcerer all frontal attack and it's like that's not how a
The
rogue
flavor the flavor
would.
of the classes I did enjoy. You can tell that this is made by a team that really pushes narrative
Mhm.
first, I think. And sorry, I
Yeah.
heard you were gonna
Yeah,
say something, Ace. What was that?
yeah. I'm about to say I was looking through some of the cards and I realized that you could really get into customization because I was thinking about how
Yeah.
like I would personally make Garrick if I was making him.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
here's
think
what I'll
that's another
say.
thing as well because it's like a starter thing. These are like pre-made characters, so we're not going to be as
Yeah,
Connected to
invested
them.
if we were to make them ourselves. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
another thing. But I feel like It might just be a personal thing, but
Okay.
I need more information.
Here's my proposal. Because I don't know when we'll be able to schedule another one.
Mhm.
It probably won't be next week. It might be a couple weeks, but so we got a little bit of time. I do want to come back to this. Here's my proposal to you, if you all are willing to do a little bit of homework, and I think
Mhm.
this will address
Got
your
nothing else to
issue,
do.
one of your issues, and the thing Ace brought up. It's free, but if you make an account with Demiplane, you can make characters like you would on D&D Beyond. Remake your character. Remake a level 1 this character, remake them however you want. Go through the character sheet, keep the same character, but
Yeah,
just make them how you would like to make them. And then we'll play part 2 with that build using those online tools to see if that
see how that
helps.
works.
Because I know Ace had mentioned something about 2 sheets, one for online, one for, and I think that might address that. I don't know. And then just looking at the customization options, what do you think? How's that sound?
So,
Yeah,
I'm
that'd be
down to
fun.
try it.
where
Yeah.
was the site again? So
It is
I don't have.
Demiplane. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a
Okay,
link to
cool.
it.
Also, another critique about the game: not enough of Matthew Mercer coming and give me a kiss on the head goodnight. I feel as if we're missing out on that.
Sure, sure. And I am no Matthew Mercer with my DMing. I almost have the hair, but his is still much more better. It's much nicer than mine. So
Well, I like you as a DM for sure. So.
I appreciate that. I do. But
Biased.
so let's
No, not bias. I actually have 3 now, thanks to Wolfkins. I
Yeah,
have
give
literally
him
3 DMs.
if you cash app him $5, he'll let you level up.
well, thank you, Murky. Murky also said I like you as a DM too. Thank you. I appreciate it's like DM appreciation day here. So yeah, if you don't mind, I think that'd be a fun experiment to do, because that way
Mhm.
keep the same character so the narrative still kind of makes sense,
Hmm.
and but build it how you would build a level 1 character. What would you want to bring to it? You can just
Sure.
copy paste if you want, and then let's try to use those digital tools just to see if it improves online play. And
Yeah.
again, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't like it. I'm wanting to play test this. I mean, this is fun. I
This
will
is
say
I enjoyed
I
myself.
did enjoy it. Let me ask you
Same.
how you would have felt about this, because there's an optional. We didn't really get into it because this combat wasn't as long as it could be.
Hmm.
There is an optional rule that everybody has 3 action tokens that they can use, and then they can't use any more until everyone else has used theirs to kind of keep the action. Or so
Ooh,
you all did it.
that makes things interesting.
You all
Yeah, it
did it
does.
by yourself. Like, you kind of traded off like that, so it really kind of flowed. But the way it's written, I mean, the way that it's written, technically, Garrett could have just done everything, and the 2 of you done nothing. If you guys were
Yeah.
just wanted to, if that's how you wanted to. With that
I
optional rule, he could have done
That
3, but
cancels that
then
out.
couldn't have done anything until you all had done your 3. What do you think
What
about
I
that?
I
think.
like about the original rules is I like us getting as many actions as possible and then failing, and then the enemies get as many actions as
I
possible.
I
That makes
kind
it
of like
fun for
that
me,
too.
but I also like the other rules as well.
Well, so that part doesn't change. So say it would just be like, so in the first rule, you could take 9 actions and then keep going. In this rule, you could take 3, but then would have to wait for the other 2 to take 3. If you all kept
And
succeeding,
then keep going.
it would still
It
stick
keeps
with
going.
you. It's just that way
I'd
Yeah.
be okay
it makes
with either.
I think the second way would probably feel more like a D&D thing, so maybe
yeah.
that might be a better idea type, like things like he does 3, I do 3, and then we go around if no one fails.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
around again if no one fails.
and you just have 3, so you don't have to take them. You could do 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2,
Yeah.
1, however you
Yeah.
wanted to.
I think that also kind of addresses the fact of like it stops that whole okay, Garrick, you're up front, you're our tank, you
Take 6
just tank
actions.
everything
Yeah.
and do
It,
everything,
it,
and we're
it's
just gonna sit here and cheer you on. Like I feel like there are definitely gonna be players that will kind of have that idea of, well, I can't really do anything at the moment, so I'm just gonna sit here, and then they sit out the combat, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why would you want to sit
but
out for something that's gonna last like an hour?
the
Yeah.
thing is like I mean that's why I like Barnacle a lot, because like I said, I felt like it's like, okay, the enemies are paying attention to me. I don't want to do anything at this moment. because my attack. That's like what I'm saying. Is like my attacks are cloak and dagger type stuff. So I don't want to move anywhere.
Yeah, you're
here
waiting for an
until
opportunity.
the
Yeah.
opportunity
Yeah.
type thing. So I think that for that's what I'm saying about the rogues kind of type thing. Just choose not to do anything until they know for a fact that enemies are onto someone else, and then
Sure.
that's when they can do attacks.
Mm.
Okay.
It feels
Good to
more
think of.
like it feels more flowing.
It does,
here in
yeah, because
Daggerheart
you don't
than
take your
D&D.
turn when it comes up. You take your turn when it makes sense to take it.
Exactly.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, I just wanted some feedback on that because I was watching the video where they were addressing the 1.3 changes, and that was an optional rule they had written into it. So
Mm.
awesome.
I
So
will. I'll
go
write
ahead.
up a 30-page Google Doc essay of all the things that are wrong with it.
You know, instead of sending that to me, you could just go take the playtest survey yourself.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Cut me out of it. You
No,
don't
I'm
have
kidding.
to route everything back
My
to me.
DM sucks.
I just want, yeah. This game would be great if the DM wasn't like the worst person ever. So
But yeah.
we
I
will
mean,
try to
it
get.
does.
Go ahead.
It
Sorry.
definitely. That's right. It definitely for this beginning. It definitely relies heavily on the DM, and that's not how when I play in D&D. It's everyone, not just the DM telling
Sure.
the story. It's heavily. I would prefer like because
Yeah.
that's what I've been waiting to like do role play, and you're just not saying that you're a bad storyteller, but we're just
Well, this isn't my
Just a
story.
bit.
I'm not taking credit for the story. This isn't my story.
I know that, but
I read half
the
of it.
the thing of it is, it's just like I'm waiting to be my player, and it's just like on and on and on. And it's a good story, but it's just like I would like to do a little role play now type thing.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and the way that it's structured, it kind of throws you in. I think it wants to demonstrate the combat first. So there are, because I was reading through it, there are some role play. There's no role play scenarios in this. There's some things where it says let them role play, and we did a little bit, like talking with the guy or talking with the kid. But there's no like scenarios they designed to show off the role play elements of the game. So I'll just try to make sure to work those in better for part 2, which we will try to get on the books. We'll try to get that scheduled, and then because I'd love to come back and finish this and drag Psychic kicking and
Absolutely.
screaming. Even though he just said he hates everything about this, but
I didn't say that I wouldn't play it. It's just the lack of access to information and the lack of knowledge, and like knowing how early it is, we're not going to have a lot of information straight away. There's going to be so much changing and stuff.
hey, I was gonna
The
say,
only thing that brings me out of it is just the fact of like I like to know what I'm doing, or at least have an idea of what I'm doing.
sure.
And with this, all it is here's numbers, here's words on a page, like almost
Sure.
figure out what you think it makes sense of, and yeah, sure, that's definitely how it works. Like,
Well, and then the other part of this
I'm gonna
too
break the
is,
fuck out of it.
like you said, it's early access. We could take all this time and remember them, and then the rules change.
Yeah, exactly,
So
and then the whole thing
Exactly.
changes. Like, it's
that's
understandable, it's fair, but for me right now, maybe when it comes out properly, I'd be like, okay, let me give this another shot now that
Sure.
like everything's kind of pinpointed. But for right now with the playtest, it doesn't interest me personally
as
as a
far
player.
as this channel goes, I do want to finish the playtest. I probably wouldn't want to do anything official until that came out. Like I wouldn't try to do anything longer term while it's still in playtest, because that just seems like a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So as far as content goes, game wise, this would probably be it. This and the conclusion to it, unless they put out like something else, then we might try that for a playtest. And then I might make some short videos just that talks about it as it goes through development. But yeah, I wouldn't be starting a campaign until, and even if I did, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
I
starting
mean,
a
it
campaign.
feels too early
It does,
anyway. I mean,
definitely.
I mean, they just said that they just put it out and have fun. And it's like, how can you have fun with literally no rules?
Yeah. Well, and the thing too is, you got to take a look. It does compete. It's competing in a pretty crowded market. I mean, D&D 5e
that
definitely
too.
has that. And then Dragonbane, the fantasy genre is crowded, so it needs to find a way to make itself stand out. I do like the duality dice. I do like that system.
I like the duality dice, and I like I said, I definitely like it's like you're a rogue, or you do that, you this, you have your special ability. That was fun, just to phase in and out and in, out and in. And that was so fun to play as Barnacle.
Yeah.
Awesome.